Hi everyone, Teresa Aker here from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It's my pleasure today to introduce you to David Chudyk. How you doing, David?
I am doing really well as I host a podcast myself. So I always love getting on this side of the microphone and I can learn how other podcasts are run and learn the processes and also get to tell a little bit of my story. So it'll be a good time.
It's my pleasure to have you here, David, and I really appreciate your coming on. Now, and we're going to find out what your podcast name is too in the show. I'm just going to do a quick intro about you, David, and then we're going to start, okay?
Sure.
Thank you. So David is the owner and podcaster, CFPR, and anything else that needs to be done at Financial Services Insurance Group. That's a wonderful title. Let's start at the beginning. What got you into this, David, and where are we going from there?
Yeah, so I actually will have my 20-year anniversary in a couple weeks. And I've always been fascinated by wealth and by money and what wealth and money can do for us. Growing up, I didn't realize that I thought it was normal that money is a very limiting factor for most people. It's just, I thought everybody hears the words, we can't afford that, and things like that all of the time. And then as I grew up and started seeing the world and interacting with different people, you start seeing that, there are some people that have abundance of money. And it doesn't have to be tens of millions of dollars, but it could be that maybe if their car needs four new tires, it's not like a tragedy. You just pay for it and it stinks and it's money that you didn't want to spend, but you spent it and it's no big deal. So I was very fascinated by money and behaviors. And so, yeah, life took me in a lot of different directions. But right now, I'm a financial advisor. So I'm a certified financial planner. And I also own a property and casualty insurance agency. So I have a team of people that help with home insurance, auto insurance, business insurance, and things like that. So I like to say that I help my clients, generally speaking, to increase the size of their assets, and the other part of our office helps to protect their assets because at its core, insurance really just protects your money, but it is a really big part of the financial planning process.
Wonderful.
Um, I
Thank you.
yeah, and I've hit over 200 episodes of the Weekly Wealth podcast, and I think that yeah, they talk about pod fade in the industry where most people think, wow, I'm going to start this podcast and I'm going to have Joe Rogan like numbers and I'm going to make millions of dollars. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. So most podcasts don't make it towards 10, 15, 20 episodes. So we've hit 200. I
Okay,
think
good.
most of them are pretty good. Some of them in the beginning I will never listen to because they are horrible. But I love talking about the fact that how we handle our money should positively impact our lives and the lives of those around us. And I think that's like the basis of how we should make all of our financial decisions.
David, thank you. Now, I'm with you. I think a lot of people struggle. I certainly do. It feels overwhelming sometimes. You want to invest, you want to plan for your future, but you're really not sure what direction to go. And I realize everyone is different. I
Mhm.
understand that. What I heard from you loud and clear is though your company wants to help people and protect people. So you want to help them grow, but you want to do it responsibly, and that's the most important. So let's talk about money, David. Let's go to the root of our conversation today.
Yeah. So ultimately, money's not good, money's not bad, money's not evil, money's not great. Money is simply a tool that ultimately just amplifies who Teresa is. So if Teresa's a jerk and if Teresa gets a lot more money, she's probably going to be a bigger jerk because money gives her the opportunity maybe to be prideful and maybe look down on poor people. And we've all known people like that. Now, if Teresa is an awesome person, like I'm sure you are, and generous and likes helping people, money will allow Teresa to be more generous, to help people more. So money is simply a tool that amplifies what we are and who we are. And we all need to be purposeful in saying, I want for my money to help me to live out my values. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have 25-year-old married couple, okay, both working. And let's just say hypothetically, and these may not be everybody's values, but hypothetically, they want to have the mother stay at home with the child. Okay. Obviously, that means that the mother will be quitting her job. And that means that that income is not coming in. So in their case, their at least short-term goal would not be to accumulate as much money as humanly possible because you can accumulate much more money if you have two people working. Their goal would be that they're going to enhance their family's life by having the mother stay home with the child. And that would require some budget decisions. It would require maybe some cutting back on lifestyle decisions. But if that's the value that's important to them, then they need to make their money decisions around that. And a lot of people, sometimes it's hard to really look inside and say, what should we do? People get really hung up on watching the news and saying, wow, Nvidia is going up. I need to buy Nvidia, or I don't need to buy Nvidia, or Apple, or crypto, or anything else like that. And I say, hey, slow down. We need to buy different stocks and bonds, and we need these things, but let's get the baseline right first. Let's figure out, like, what do you want to happen? Where do you want to go eventually? And then we can fit all of the different financial products and tools into place. But let's get a baseline first of what makes a successful life for you, because that's different than what makes a successful life for me, because we're different people.
Absolutely. That's perfect laid out, David, honestly, because I think most people do. Everybody has a different lifestyle, a different idea of what makes them want to go further. You're right. If you have a family and you got to make concessions, you have to plan. You might be able to put away for their education as opposed to investing in the stock market. They have very real issues that they have to deal with, right?
Absolutely. And normal people have finite money. So, yes, you might want to save for your kids' college. You might want to be saving for your own retirement. You might want to be saving to buy a bigger house. You might want to be saving for a lot of different things, but you just don't have as much income as you need to save for all those things. So, we need to prioritize. And that's part of the financial planning process would be to prioritize what the goals are. There's the goals that I need to happen, then there's the goals that I would really like to happen if things go my way, but if they don't, it's okay. I'm not a therapist, but people tell me stuff, and money is such it's an emotional topic that there is some sort of therapeutic type qualities involved in the process. And then if you're working with a financial advisor, or if you're figuring this stuff out on your own, and either one is fine depending on your skills and ability and time availability, then you just need to pick out what are the products, what are the types of financial tools that fit in with your overall plan. So I actually did a podcast back when Nvidia was going way, way up. It was called, I think the title of the podcast episode was, Here's Exactly What You Should Do About Nvidia. And the podcast was basically you and I and everybody, we need to see first what our overall financial goals are and then see if NVIDIA fits into your goals. Not necessarily buy, because people will ask, should I buy a stock or not? And my answer is, if you're not a client of mine, I don't know. Maybe you should take that money and pay off credit card debt. I don't know. If it would freak you out seeing that account balance go up and down a little bit, maybe you shouldn't buy a stock that could be volatile. The answer to should I dot dot with regard to money is always really, I don't really know until I get to know you. And people need to understand that every financial decision needs to fit in with the concept of a holistic plan.
Wonderful, said David, because do think, and it's just my opinion because I'm not a financial advisor, but you certainly hear people invest and then they get themselves in trouble because they overextended or things like that. And we never want to see someone in that position. That's so important. And we want to make sure they're talking to the right advisors. And when I say that, advisors that are there for them and thinking of their needs and their wants. Is that not correct, David?
Yeah, I actually just did an episode, I think 2 or 3 episodes ago, and it was about financial advice on social media. And I can tell people that call themselves financial advisors on TikTok and on Instagram, oftentimes based on how all of their posts go, you can tell what they're trying to sell. They may have a specific product that they're trying to sell you, and they're leading all of their information towards making that product look good. Now, I don't really have a specific product that I need you to buy, or I'm a fiduciary. So it's, if you ask me what type of a vehicle should I have, my answer is, what do you do? And let's say you're a builder, then of course you need a pickup truck because you need to carry supplies and things. And that's what's right for you. And if I only sell pickup trucks, then you're going to be a good client. Let's say that you ask me what type of a vehicle you should have, and I say, tell me a little about yourself. And you say, I have 3 kids and another one on the way, and we go to soccer and basketball. I'd say, you probably need a minivan. So it's not that a minivan is better than a pickup truck, or a pickup truck is inherently better than a minivan, but each one of those vehicles fits a different type of a person. But if I'm in the minivan business only, and if you need a pickup truck, then I don't have any way to make money off of you. So I either have to not have you as a customer or talk you into buying a minivan that doesn't suit your needs, which wouldn't be good for you. But it would be good for me because I might make money off of it, which ultimately is not a good thing in the long run for everybody involved.
I get that. Now let's talk about businesses.
Hmm.
When businesses are growing and they're investing and they're buying, how are you able to help them? Let's talk about generally, how do you help business?
So, generally speaking, if you look at the business owners of the world, most of them get into their trade because they enjoy their trade. So, there's a guy that likes building houses. So, he says, hey, I'm going to start a house building business and I like building stuff and it's going to be awesome. And then a few years later, they're doing everything but building houses. They're having to hire and fire and pay insurance and market and everything else. And that's maybe not what they were good at. They also, at a point, need to start some type of a retirement plan. They need to start some sort of a benefits program for their team, things like that. I know because I'm one of them how busy and overwhelmed business owners can be. So my goal is to help business owners to take that off their plate, to talk about what's important with them, and then say, look, you go run your business, and then let me go back to the drawing board. Let me make some suggestions to you and let's get back together and let's talk about you had this problem. Maybe I'm just making up. You need a retirement plan. And then I would talk to them. Here's some of the benefits of a simple IRA. Here's some of the benefits of a 401k. And let's talk about which one really makes sense for you. The other thing with business owners is your business, if you're running it correctly, can be an asset that you can sell. And most business owners don't maximize the value of their business. So, what I mean by that is many businesses, there are 8 drivers of business value there. And if you get these things, your business becomes more sellable and attractive to buyers. I am a certified value builder advisor, and part of my practice involves helping businesses prepare for an exit, which could be next year or 5 or 6 or 10 years. But we work on the 8 drivers of value. One of them is helping the business owner to get out of the way. The business owner needs to set up processes and procedures so they're not involved with everything. Another one involves not being overly reliant on any one thing. So not being overly reliant on any one employee, any one industry, any one supplier, things like that. So we help businesses do that. And in the process, 2 things can happen. The business can sell potentially for a higher multiple, and the business also potentially can have higher revenue. So if you're getting a higher multiple and higher revenue, that's a much bigger sale price for the business. And that's one of your assets. So going back to that question we had, like when people ask, should I buy Nvidia? The answer is maybe, I'm not sure, but you don't have direct control over Nvidia. I don't have direct control over Nvidia. So if the stock goes down, I don't have direct control over it. Now, my own little company, I do have direct control over what happens. So I can spend a lot of my time and efforts making my own company more valuable. And let's face it, our companies are typically our biggest asset. And we typically put not very much effort into making them attractive to a buyer. And that doesn't mean you need to sell, but what it does mean is that a sellable business is a more profitable business and an easier business to run. So if your business is a train wreck, no, first of all, nobody's going to want to buy it, or they're not going to want to buy it for very much money. And then your life is also stressful because you're constantly putting out fires. If you get your business running smoothly, if you get those 8 drivers of value looking good, then you're going to have a more profitable business, an easier business, and then you might not even want to sell it because it may not be so hellacious to deal with every day. A little bit of an interesting spin on that, but I really believe that improving our business owner skills is one of the best financial planning skills that we can develop.
Well done. So you're taking a business and you're helping them. You're taking basically letting them delegate the financial end to you, and they're able to run and do what they do best. Basically, that's what I get out of that. And you're prepared to help them and keep them in the safety zone, as one might say, in the financial side of things. Now, David,
Correct.
I see a sign behind you that says Parallel Financial. Help us out with
Yes.
that.
So Parallel Financial is a registered investment advisor, and that's who I am associated with. So Parallel Financial is an independent firm located in Greenville, South Carolina. As a firm, we manage over $1 billion, and we're a fiduciary firm, which means we just put our clients' needs ahead of our own and do the right things. Parallel Financial, the technical term is an investment advisor representative. So I work with them. They handle compliance, that we do in-house money management, and it's just a really great firm. been around over a decade and just a really good fit for me culturally and everything else. I love being with them. I've been with them 5.5 years, and it's a great fit. But yeah, if you had investment accounts with me, ultimately Parallel Financial would be technically the advisor, the registered investment advisor on that account.
I understand that. That makes total sense.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Now, if I was to ask you financially, from your experience, could you give us three tips that would help people in life financially, growing their business, or personally? What would be three very valuable tips to help people?
I love it. So first of all, let's go back to being purposeful. Let's just think about what do I want my money to do for me? And most people don't at the end of their life think, hey, you know what? I had cooler stuff than Teresa, so I'm a winner. Most people on their deathbed, they're like, I probably should have given more money away, or I could have maybe managed stress a little bit better with regards to money. So be purposeful, use money as a tool. Number two, if you are a business owner, don't put these big financial decisions off. A business owner needs to make more financial decisions than, let's say, an employee of a big company. An employee of a big company on day one, they check the box and they're in the 401k. A business owner needs to make their own 401k. And if they don't, then they retire broke. So don't put off the big decisions. And then finally, when you're dealing with money, look at some of the non-sexy parts of financial planning and get the basics right. So get your budget right. Maybe make sure that you understand your insurances. Maybe say, hey, I'm going to have a short meeting with my spouse once a week for 15 minutes. You're just going to review if we had any big expenditures that week that were unexpected and what we have going on, and get those basics right. Nobody ever goes bankrupt, or very rarely do people go bankrupt from like one big mistake. It's normally you just veer off course, and over months and years, then you end up $100,000 in credit card debt. It's normally not one $100,000 purchase. It's just two spouses both spending $50 a week more than what's appropriate for them. And then a few years later, it's $100,000.
David, I want to come back to that. Thank you. That is excellent. I like that you said, get to the table, talk it out, because I do know I've done it too in my lifetime where you're on your way, you're every day you got that latte coming, you're not even adding that to your budget. And not just that, you might buy clothing and jewelry. And as you're going along your way, you're right. You don't come back and center with your partner and say, hey, where are we spending our money? And it's not a bad thing. It's not like you're going to accuse someone. You're just saying, okay, let's look at the real picture here. And once you do those numbers, and I think a lot of people are nervous to look at the real numbers, aren't they, David?
I think we're nervous to look at the real numbers, and I also think that it's human nature to be penny wise and dollar foolish. I think what happens, at least in my life, I would rather forego kind of some daily $5 coffees, but every quarter go to a really nice restaurant and have a really good experience. I would rather go on a nice vacation, but not go out to eat very often during the week. And I think most people do the opposite. When I drive down kind of the main road in our town, there are some big chain restaurants. And at 5 o'clock, like those parking lots with hundreds of cars are full. And a family is going to spend $100 minimum. And I don't know about you, but I don't like using the words can't afford. I don't think it would be wise for my family to spend $100 going out to eat several nights a week. That would just not be a wise expenditure of our money. I think that for me, putting off some of the immediate gratifications, maybe not buying a name brand shirt. Probably most clothing is like the same. It's made in the same factory. It just doesn't have a logo.
Yeah.
So you forego some of those things. And then when a big thing happens, you're okay. Now, thankfully, we've made a couple good financial decisions and we have paid off cars. Okay. Now, my wife's car unfortunately needed a new water pump. And I think the car companies do this on purpose. Her water pump is hidden somewhere in there, and it's literally a 3-day job, and it's going to be $3,000, which stinks. But would you rather have that happen and be like, man, that stinks, but we'll just do it, and it stinks, it's just part of life? Or would you rather both of us get a $7 coffee twice a day over years and then not have any money to pay for that emergency? When we talk about how we handle our money should make our lives better, one of the ways we can make our lives better is by having a little bit of a slush fund. When the proverbial crap happens, you can handle it, and then you're not overly stressed out by what is a pain in the neck, which is the $3,000 expense. But thankfully, it's something that's more of an inconvenience than a tragedy.
I'm thinking the word came to mind, assets before luxury. So
Mhm.
then now you're prepared when you need down the road you have to you still have to plan, but at least when something like that happens, you're prepared and you haven't, because I know I've done it. I've done it lots of times. I thought, "Oh, I wish I hadn't spent that money on here because now I need it here." So that's real. David, you've been amazing. Now, if somebody wanted to get to you today, reach out right now. I'm going to have all your information, of course, but what's
Sure.
the best place to reach you, David?
Best place, just email david@parallelfinancial.com if you wanted to have direct contact with me, or just check out the podcast, Weekly Wealth Podcast. You can go to www.weeklywealthpodcast or just look for it on Apple or Spotify or any of the major platforms. And that way you can get to know me a little bit. I feel like I have a different take on financial planning to an extent that we're not. I think what most financial advisors do is, hey, hello, Teresa. I'm one of your friends is my client, and they suggested that we speak. And then they would say, would you like a portfolio comparison? And then they say, oh, Teresa, you got 10.02% last year. My portfolio would have gotten you 10.97. So I think you should switch to me. And you're like, I don't even know, what does that
Yeah.
equate to? Like, why would I do that? I don't know who you are. And has anybody ever done a portfolio review and been like, yeah, you should just stay where you are, there's nothing wrong with your portfolio? So I'm looking at it differently. We would have a conversation. Look, what's important to you? Where do you want your life to go? What are some money mistakes you've made? What are some money goals you have? And let's make our decisions around those, as opposed to, and sometimes that might mean that we invest your money in a way that has a lower return because at your point in life, maybe you can't handle big swings of the market. And maybe you have enough money just to say, if we can get 6 or 7 or 8%, we're good. We don't need to shoot for 15. So it's not necessarily about accumulating as much money as humanly possible.
Fantastic. I like your approach, David. You're very down to earth. You're very caring about your clients. It's obvious. And I'm hoping absolutely everyone goes to David's podcast because you're going to learn a whole lot more from David. Now, today I want to let everyone know again, David's company. And so it's David Financial Services and Insurance Group. So I want to make sure that we have that down. I'm going to have all your information, David, here, and we have Parallel Financial in behind. So everyone has a real good idea of your company, what you do. So that's terrific. I have another question for you, David. Will you
Sure.
come back and see us again?
Oh, I would love to. I think we have some good chemistry here,
Thank you.
and I think we're on the same page on a lot of these concepts.
I do too. David, I'm very grateful that you came on the show today. To everyone, please certainly look at David. I will have all his information here. You won't have to worry about it. You'll know exactly where to reach out to him. We really appreciate you coming on today, David. My name is Teresa Aker from